how to get rigged up for a crappie bite is what we're gonna kind of go over today. Go through some of the fundamentals, the easiest way to do things, the way I like to do things. If you're chasing crappies, there's a couple of different ways you can go. Most of the time, as far as rods, we'll start with that. You really don't want to go with a bait caster. It's going to be really tough. It's just you're dealing with light tackle, light lures. You know, you're going. It's going to be a small presentation. Obviously, it's crappies. So open face is usually the way to go, or a spinning reel, however you want to say it. If you're my age, you say open face. If you're younger guy, you're going to say spinning reel. But it's the same thing. Show you exactly, this one's not rigged up. I took all the line off of it. I wanted to show exactly how to, you know, put the line on. A lot of people don't have a clue, especially on these. Bait casters aren't such a big deal. It's pretty simple, just wind it. These, there's a little bit to it. If you put it on the wrong way, you open it up, it can come off like a slinky. So the easiest 4-pound test, you can go 2. Some guys like to fish 2. It really kind of all depends on your quality of your equipment. I usually never go under 4. One thing, this is going to be a bobber rod, and one thing with a bobber rod is you want to go with mono. You really don't want to go with fluorocarbon. You can fish fluorocarbon, but you're going to learn real quick why I say not to do it. Fluorocarbon sinks. It doesn't float. Mono floats. When you're talking bobber fishing, you really want that line to sit on top of the surface. If it starts dropping, starts sinking, what ends up happening is the line starts sinking, it'll pull the bobber towards you, or pull the bobber, and all of a sudden, you know, next thing you know, you get a bite, you go to reel it in, you're like, whoa, 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 and you got to reel in. You're sitting there cranking as your bobber's going this way, and a lot of times you'll lose the fish. It's just, it doesn't work. Or you'll pull, and just the tension of the water on top of the line, the fish will feel the hook, spit it, you lose it. So you're much better off, just go fluorocarbon. Go mono, and you won't have any problems. As far as rigging, most manufacturers will put the label on the side that you want up. Not all of them. When you get, you're going to be able to tell real quick. I usually go through 2 eyes, but you're going to be able to tell real quick if it's going on right. And I'll show you here real quick. I just want to go through the whole procedure, so somebody that's new, they can kind of get it and figure it out. And I just do a simple overhand knot. That's really all you need. You can use a piece of tape too if you want, and then just pull her tight. Make sure you keep tension on that knot the whole time, and then snug it up. That's all there is to it. Nip it off. Bingo. Don't pull it real tight right now, just a little bit of tension. And give it like about 10 cranks or so, and then you'll know if that is the right way. Open up your bail. See how she kind of comes off like a slinky like that? That's not good, that's not what you want. So, real quick, just flip the line over with, and then give her about 10 or 15 more cranks, and see what you got. See, that's not so bad. That hangs on there nice. You're gonna get a little bit off until it takes up memory, but that's pretty good. But that's the easiest way to figure out exactly how to put it on there. And like I said, it's just kind of trial and error, but that's how I do it. And you'll know, like you saw before, it just came off literally like a slinky. It's gonna do this, it doesn't take long. But one thing when you got your spinning reels, what I like to do, any kind of a casting one, if you look, I like to have a bevel on it. It just casts better. And then when you run the line up, I like to get it so it's about, a quarter of the way up the bevel. It casts much better. That's perfect. What a lot of guys do, if you don't want to tie it, this line that they use to hold it, the little piece of tape, what works really well too is actually just get your line on, use that as your your point to hold it. You can just pop it on there, just like this, push it onto the spool, and then that'll actually hold it, nip the end off. Boom, you're done. It's a simple way, then you don't have to tie it. That's that. Run her through. We're gonna kind of go over search baits, which my preferred search bait, let me see if I have one here, for crappie fishing is, you go small, and my preferred search bait is this little thumper tail. And I'll tell you what, this little 1-inch thumper tail, it drives this tail goes, and I'll tell you, I used to use the twister tails and stuff like that, but these little thumper tails are like magic. I think I did a video where I talked about these earlier, but I think I did a river video where I am just absolutely sold on these things. I love them. They just fish gobble them up. It's amazing. A lot of times they outfish live bait. All right. I'm gonna get this rigged up real quick, and then we'll go over how to rig a slip bobber. And then as far as rods for bobbers, I like a 6. I mean, some guys like medium light. I mean, some guys like medium heavy. I guess it all kind of depends on, it's just personal preference, really. Everybody has their own. I like a little bit stiffer medium light. You'll have to play around with the different rods, different manufacturers, because everybody has their own, every manufacturer kind of, and every rod blank has their own. I mean, this is the kind of bend I like to have, you know, there's not a whole lot of, you know, not putting a whole lot of pressure there, but that's the kind of bend. That way, at least because you're gonna have line out there, and that way you got enough rod to set the hook, but without yanking it or ripping it, especially out of a crappie's mouth. They're just, you know, there isn't much there. All right, bobber selection. So you got about three different kinds of, really 3 or 4 different kinds of bobber selections here. So you have your old-fashioned type spring, which is fine. The only thing with these is when you're putting them on your line, I don't like to use these as much, for the simple fact is it does tear your line up. And when you hook it on, when you find the right depth where you're at, you go around 1, 2, 3 times, and you can see how it pinches off. I mean, it holds it solid. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, you can see the tension, or see the stress it puts on the line. I'm not a big fan of that stress, you know, because you're gonna catch bass, and you can catch some nice bass, especially this time of year. They're gonna be up there just, you know, cruising along with the crappies and sunnies and all that kind of stuff. And if you get a big enough bass, and there's, you know, any kind of imperfection in that line like that, you're gonna snap and lose your whole rig. You're gonna be retying. So, not my first choice. It is easy. Your second kind of rig would be something like a lighted bobber, or your 1-hole type system. And that's like this. It just has the 1 hole. You know, nothing wrong with these. These are fine. Super easy. Pop it through. It's one thing with these that you want to make sure is, depending on what you use for a bobber stop, you're going to want to make sure that you use the bead, and we'll go over the bead here, but you want to make sure you use the bead, because some of these holes, they get pretty big, and actually the bobber stop, if you use like a felt bobber stop, which is the one I use most of the time, it will go through that, and then you kind of defeat the purpose of having your bobber on that. So, but my preferred choice is just your traditional slip system. And I like a bobber, the through bobbers, that you actually thread the line all the way through. And let me find, so we'll start with the bobber stops. So you have, there's 2 different types. that I normally use. So you have the rubber type bobber stops. And the way those things work is you can kind of see, you see where the this little hole, you'd pop that, your line through that little hole, and then you'd actually just pull it off of the wire and pop it on. And you can use that. I don't like these as much. They tend to slip a little bit. I'm just not a fan of them. You're always, for me, it just seems like you're constantly rechecking and making sure that you got, you know, your bobbers in the right spot. These, I just think they move around a little bit too much for me. I prefer the felt ones, is the ones I prefer. And this one, you don't normally have to use a bead. You can see how tight, but I've had these little tips break, and so I always put a bead on anyway, just in case this thing breaks off or whatever, then I don't have to deal with it. And you get all the beads with them anyway. And these are just your traditional, you can get any brand you want. They're all about the same. And then just pull. You always get your, you always get beads with them as well. You can get them. All right, come on, get out of there. There we go. All right. So first things first is put your stop on. Get a clean piece of line here. All right, feed that through. So one thing you want to make sure, now this one's not too big of a deal because the hole's big enough, but some of these actually have really small holes. You want to make sure that you are pulling this part off, and you want to make sure that you're pulling that towards the end, and this towards the tip of the rod, your actual felt stop towards the tip of the rod. So, and just snug it up, leave the ends on there until you you know, figure out what your depth is, and then really crank it down, and then you can cut them off. You can still adjust it, but it's, you know, you gotta be careful. I like to just leave it on there until that point. I can even get this. And then your bead goes on. Woo, look at you. There's that. And then your bobber. There we go. Like that. And then just make sure that you put, you know, colored end top. And then sinkers. You can use whatever sinkers you like. What I prefer are your just your regular eggs, or just your round aspirin type sinkers is what I prefer. I like to go with two a little bit bigger. I don't like to pile a bunch of smaller ones on. Some people like that. I don't, because I've actually had more fish hit the sinkers than the bait sometimes. Don't ask me why, but, and then I always use either a hemostat or a needle nose to crimp them, just because it is lead, and you're teaching your kid how to do it. We don't want them biting on it, because you want them staring off into space. Okay, there's that. All right, and then last but not least, your hook. And when it comes to hooks, probably 99% of the time, especially crappies or walleye, I always run colored hooks, always, constantly, because I have seen days, and don't ask me why, but colored hooks, you'll have one guy will have a red hook or a traditional, like a gray, or it's just your regular hook, and we'll get maybe 2 bites, and I'll be running a yellow or a white, which are my two, those are kind of my go-to ones for crappie, and I'll outfish my kid, or he'll outfish me by 20-1, and I mean, it's literally like that. They will just target that colored hook, and it's, if you've never done it, even if you're experienced, try it, it'll blow your mind. You can't even believe it. But anyway, I usually always start off with, I like to use a white. Like, white seems to be pretty magical. But I'm sure my kid will probably use white too, so maybe I will just go with a yellow. And personal preference on hooks, it doesn't really matter. It's whatever you like to fish. One thing I do, size, I like to go with a size 8. It just works great for everything. If you're using grubs or if you're using minnows, it works perfect. And you just tie that baby on there. Knot, whatever knot you want. I do kind of a modified old fisherman's knot. And the only reason I do that is just because you can use it with braid, you can use it with light, mono, you can use it with floral, you can use it with heavy line, I mean, you can use it with anything. And it works spectacular. That's it. And that is all she wrote. And then you can play around with different, actually that's a little bit, I like to have about 10 to 12 inches from the sinker to the hook. And that's about it. That is your traditional slip bobber system. And if you haven't, like I said, one of the most important things is these colored hooks. If you haven't tried them, you absolutely want to try these colored hooks. It's just, it's incredible, plain and simple. It's absolutely incredible. But that's all there is to slip bobber system. I know this kind of took a little bit. It's only because I can't see the damn eyes, but and next, you're ready for crappie fishing. All right, next let's load this boat up and let's hit the lake. All right.
Small. Get him? Oh, actually, still pretty good size. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Not the biggest, but it's a start. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a full one. Oh yeah. Ooh. That's a big one. That's a nice one there.
Holy smokes, look at the size of that.
Holy crap. That's a good one.
Jeez, that is like a bass.
That might be the biggest one today.
I think that, oh yeah. That thing is huge.
Holy moly. That is a Kong of a fish.
That thing is huge.
That is the crappie right there.
That is a gem.
Wow.
Almost obnoxiously huge.
Almost. 13 and a half.
13 and a half, almost.
But
14.
it's got a giant back.
Well, look at how wide. See how wide the back is?
Oh my God. It's as big as my hand.
Oh, it's huge.
Look at that.
It's
It's
like
my hand fully.
When you hear about pie plates.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
That's a good. This
That's really good. Oh, this is a bull. This is a bull. Holy. Wow.
Nice.
Look at the size of that thing. Jesus. I mean, my goodness, why go bass fishing? Look at that
Go
thing.
show my phone.
Yeah, that is. Oh, he wasn't coming off. Holy smokes, do I got him good. There we go. Look at the size of that pig.
That's a 12. Easy 12.
Oh, 12, almost 13, I'll bet. Juice. That thing is a pig.
We gonna keep that one?
Nah, I'll put it back.
You want that for your phone? Here, take a shot.
Send one to
Yep.
Yeah, take one more.
You made that thing look massive in your hand, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Like that?
Like that.
Oh, yeah. Thing
That
looks
thing's
huge.
Jeez, take
Hold on.
one more.
Good one. There you go. Go off to your other side. That's
Oh, hook fell out.
oh, wow.
Look at that piggy.
Oh, yeah.
There's a nice one. Whoa.
Only takes a few of those to make a meal.
That is a bull. Tell you, I kept missing fish. And I opened up the gap on the hook a little bit. And since I've done that, everyone's been coming in the boat.
Finally. Good one. I'm on yep. Alright.
He's not bad. Oh yeah. Going back.
I think I'll put that smaller one back too.
Yeah.
Don't need that small one.
That's another one.
Big one.
Oh, he's hooked in the snout. I wasn't losing him. Little peanut.
All right, this is why we come to Cedar Lake, right here. This is the biggest crappie. I don't know, the other one might have been
It
bigger.
might have been bigger. That's a good one.
This is a great crappie. You gotta get the hook out of the net first. Okay, there's that. Just look at that crappie. That's a 12. At least a 12. That's awesome.
Day.
Good day.
And just kind of a little recap. So let's see. Well,
Started with bobbers.
Well, we started with some search baits.
Yep.
Just some paddle tails. And what did you use? You used
A
fluke. So
Yep.
you had a little fluke.
With a waxy on it, just
Yeah.
chucking that out.
Normally out here the waxy seemed to work pretty good, but it was weird today. It was a minnow bite today.
Yeah, it was different.
So minnow bite today.
And then,
Took us a little bit to find them, but they were kind of, well, I guess, second spot we found them. So
second spot we found them. Started with orange hooks and yellow hooks.
Yeah, so because we were talking. I was talking about the hook colors. How colors make a huge difference, especially with crappie fishing. I mean, crappie fishing, it's amazing. If you have not used colored hooks crappie fishing, you absolutely want to give it a shot. So today, yeah, so we went. What did we do? I think I started with a yellow.
Yeah, I had an orange.
And he had an orange.
Switched to a yellow.
Switched to, yep.
And then we got outfished by a local, and we switched to white.
Yeah.
And that seemed to just be the
white,
ticket.
White was just,
it just turned on right after that.
As soon as we went to white, put a white hook on there, it was game on. Well, you've seen the results. It was.
I mean, here's the results
Yeah.
here for you. You want to see it? That's the result.
That's
right
the result.
there.
From zero fish to big piggies like that.
That's the result right there.
Yeah.
You got a 13 and you got a 13 and
almost a 14
half,
incher
almost
there.
14.
Yeah. So.
That's a big crappie. That's
Yeah.
why we come out to this lake.
Yeah.
Only keep 4, or try to keep it low.
Yeah. Well, just keep what you're gonna eat for that night or whatever. So. And those are so big. I mean, 4. That's gonna feed all of us. No problem.
That's all you need.
So, yeah. That was.
Save it for another.
Yeah. That was some mashed potatoes, some gravy. Nothing gets better than that. So.
Right.
Biggest thing, just experiment. It's never the same twice.
No, it's always different.
Always different.
Fish change just like you do.
Yeah. So that's it. So. All right. Good luck on the water. Catch you next time.